minds. We're going to do new. Do something else. Do more. Do the impossible. Do big. Do small. Do it wrong. Do it again. Do it ourselves. Do it together. Do what no one else has done. Do what will become big. Do the same. Do different. Do everything. Do something. Do new.
Good afternoon. Welcome to a webinar from Linkoping University. Today, I'm joined by two students who will introduce themselves shortly, and we're going to learn more about our program in business administration, focus on strategy and management in international organizations. It's one of our most popular programs, so it'll be really interesting to hear our students' perspective. But before we speak to them, just a few items that I'd like to go through. Bottom right of your screen, you can see boxes for questions and chat. Say hello to each other, but put your questions in the questions section and we will answer them later. We're going to be talking for about between 20 and 30 minutes. And after that, we'll open up for questions from all the participants. This webinar is also being recorded, so we will put it on our program page. You can also ask questions in the recorded version, and those questions will be forwarded to us. So, without further ado, would you like to introduce yourselves? Annalisa, would you like to start?
Yes, sure. So my name is Annalisa. I'm 24 and I'm originally from Germany, and I'm currently in the second year of the so-called SMIO program. So that's the abbreviation for Strategy and Management in International Organizations. And so far I'm really enjoying the studies and it's been a great experience so far.
Thank you. And Joe?
Yeah, so I'm Pedro actually. And I'm, as Lisa or Annalisa, studying also the SMIO program in the second year. And I'm originally also from Germany, even though my name leads to like different assumptions, maybe.
Okay, great. And I should probably mention, my name is Therese Winder, and I'm a communications officer at the university. Let's start with you guys talking a bit more about the program. How come you chose this program and chose to come to Sweden? Pedro, would you like to start?
Mm-hmm. Actually the reason for me was basically that I was looking for a master program and I couldn't really find anything that caught my eye in Germany. So I talked to a friend of mine which did his master's in Norway, and then I started looking for the Scandinavian countries more, because I always had an interest in like living in one of the countries. And Sweden I visited like a year before, I think, so I was very interested in like Sweden as country, because I thought like it's a very nice country, very nice landscape, and so on. And then I applied for some programs, and when I got like my admission kind of in that sense, I compared the programs, and then I sticked to the program that the program that I'm studying now, due to the like many different facets in terms of like culture, group work, and especially how the program is designed, and stick to it in the end.
Mm-hmm. Right. We're going to go through the program, the courses a bit in a minute, but Annalisa, I'd like to hear from you first. How come you chose Sweden and Linköping?
So during my bachelor's, I also did an exchange in Sweden. It was not in Linköping, it was in another city in Sweden. But I really like the system of how you study in Sweden, that you have one course at a time. I think we will probably talk about this also later a bit more. And yeah, since I studied tourism management and I graduated right when the pandemic hit, I thought it was probably a good idea to, figuring out what else I could do, how I can broaden my knowledge. And then I realized, okay, why not do a master in Sweden? And then similar to Pedro, I also just did some research, applied for several programs, and in the end, I liked the SMIO program best because also of the international aspect, that you really have a lot of international classmates, and also different aspects that are covered throughout the studies.
Nice. Let's have a look at the program. You both alluded to two courses, and this program is a 2-year program, so we have 4 semesters. And tell me more about the ECTS. By the way, 1 semester is 30 ECTS. So is this similar to what you had? Sometimes the courses change. Is this similar to what you've had in your first and second year?
Yeah, it's exactly the same.
Yeah. So the first semester you have so 2 courses, only 2 courses, and you had one after the other. Would you like to tell me more about that, Pedro?
Yeah, of course. So yeah, we, like, as Anna said already, we mostly have, or like actually all the time, we have only 1 course at a time. So if you have 15 credit courses, I think it's 3 months in a row, and the smaller courses are around 4 to 5 weeks, or the 7.5 credits. And yeah, the first semester with classic leaderships, organizational dilemmas, and so CLOT and SIMP is actually a very intense start of the program. Because like you really get to know a lot of things, but the professors during that time, they really supported us, and were showing us around in university. So for example, in the first course we had basically like courses everywhere, like spread out through the campus, to get to know all the buildings and the different areas to sit and study. And to talk a bit more about the courses itself, maybe like the first course is, as it says, like more about like leadership dilemma. So a lot of like classic stories towards leadership and how to consider leadership, which sounds on the first sight maybe a bit odd, maybe, but it's a very nice course and very rewarding in the end, because you get to know like different perspectives, and you wonder a lot of times why, like how do they connect this, and then when you see the whole picture in the end, you actually get what's the point, and you take a lot from it, because all the literature and all the things that you get to know in this course, you will find them throughout the whole program all over again, and you can use them all the time. So it's actually like the longer you study the program, the more you appreciate this first course.
So it sets the foundations really for the rest of the 2 years.
Yeah, exactly.
What did you make of it, Annalisa? You said you really enjoyed the fact that you could focus on 1 course at a time.
Yeah, exactly. It's I mean, of course, it depends what you're used to during your bachelor studies. But for example, I was quite used to having 5 courses at the same time, and then having an intense study period at the end of the semester. But in all our semesters, it's really like, you live, or you have little assignments throughout the entire course. It's not that you have only 1 big assignment in the end, which, I don't know, I really like it that you kind of work with the content every day, basically, and every week. And that kind of makes me remember a lot more what we actually learned and what we did throughout the entire program. And that's also something I wanted to say, what Pedro said before, that the first course actually shapes a lot how you think and how you approach different things. And it's really interesting, because now, since when we started the 3rd semester, you could actually see how much we all grown into kind of a certain way of thinking. And that's also what I would say that SMIO is kind of known for, that you learn about the skills of how to approach certain problems, or basically anything. And it's not
Have
only
you got an
about...
example? Have you got an example? Have you done case studies, or have you, Pedro? Is there a specific case study you thought, oh, this really, kind of switched on the light bulb for me?
At least from my perspective, the one, like a very good example that we had in the last course, is that we in like the first course, the third semester, we mixed with students from other programs, and the way we learned in the first course, you get to know how to ask the right questions and how to deal with certain situations. And then we had similar questions in the this third semester course. And then we actually realized that while we were like the SMIO people kind of were like, had it very easy to approach this task and just got started right away, the students from the other programs, they had some struggles because they didn't really know how to start directly and how to approach this kind of tasks, which are very present due to the level of uncertainty that we have in our current world. That it showed actually that we were like really prepared for it, which was a thing where we were like all pretty much saying, oh, that's actually something really impressive that we learned during the first course.
That must feel really rewarding, having done all this, and then you actually see, when it comes to it, it has sunk in, and it's something that you will find useful. Yeah. Annalisa, what about the second course? So the first course of the first semester, and did that kind of throw you in straight away? I mean, do you get kind of gently eased into the program, or does it start with lectures and assignments straight away?
Rather the second option. It starts right away, but at the same time, it kind of gives you your intrinsic motivation that you want to keep up with this kind of level, and that you also realize, okay, if I'm gonna put myself into this work, I'm also gonna get the rewards we talked about just now. And the second course is, compared to the first course, a bit more practical. So you work with different, or work on different companies each week. I think we had 1 week about sustainability and circular economy, and then some other about, I don't know what it was. I think like trying to globalize and kind of which strategies to use there. Something that's also maybe relevant to mention is that throughout the entire program, and especially also during the second course, that we have a lot of group work. That's also something you kind of learn not subconsciously, but that's not something that is taught, but rather that you approach every course in a new way, how to deal with your group, because of course there are a lot of different backgrounds and also styles of working, and then how to deal with this. It's also something that kind of is on top of every course content, so to say.
And so you get different groups for different assignments, so you get to learn how to work with different people.
Yeah, it's not necessarily each assignment is with a different group, but at least each course, usually the groups rotate. So you work with almost everyone in the class.
And Pedro, you said this is one of the things that attracted you to studying in Sweden.
Yeah, exactly.
How have you found it?
That aspect. I think it's something that makes like studying very interesting in a way, because like at first, or like when I came, like I didn't realize the difference that are between cultures that much, because in a way you think, okay, everything will be kind of the same. But then throughout the first courses, you realize that between certain countries, even like that might be very short or close to each other, that there are actually differences, and that which makes you grow in a and also it's very interesting because you also during the tasks you get insights from different parts of the world you would never get otherwise, because I don't know, we had one assignment which was more about like India, and like a company that was also operating in India, and then like in Europe, like we had like a complete different picture from the company, and then like this person kind of introduced his perspective and made us think in a completely different way, which also changed kind of the outcome of our task, maybe in a way. So it's really interesting to get to know all these different perspectives and ways of thinking, because that's what makes it interesting in the end.
Okay. And were there challenges involved as well? I mean, Annalisa, what did you Did you? I mean, I suppose if you're used to coming from a system where you're on your own a bit more, you're kind of doing individual assignments and you take responsibility only for your own learning. Were there challenges in now doing this kind of group approach where everybody has to support each other and contribute in a different way?
Yeah, I mean, of course, when different backgrounds, not only in terms of cultural backgrounds, but also in terms of, for example, some people have, before they started the SMIO program, they worked for, I don't know, 6-8 years, maybe in some cases even. And some people, like me, for example, came directly from the bachelor. There's also this, kind of mediating between, okay, do we use rather a practical approach? Are we going based on the theory? And then, of course, based on the cultural background. And of course, it was sometimes a bit difficult also, in terms of how to divide group work. Sometimes I also felt that it was a bit more natural for me that everyone maybe does their share without actually communicating about it, but that's something that is actually very important and that you maybe don't realize until you are actually in this kind of super international setting, that communicating about what you think, but also asking questions and asking the others about what their opinion is very important.
So basically reflecting what working life will be like later on.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Let's go back to the courses and have a look at the slide. So this was the first semester, and then the next semester you had kind of several shorter courses. What did you make of these? I mean, was there a focus that you could see that kind of was a thread throughout the whole semester, or were they very separate from each other? Pedro, would you like to?
I think what's like the second semester is something that contributes in a way to the third semester. So like the courses in like they are not that connected between each other, but they get important in that sense for the third semester, because then like it comes together in that sense, in a way. But apart from that, it's also like you, like every 5 weeks, as I said, like you get to know a new course, you get to know new topics, new ways of how the course is made, and new insights, which is also like a very, very nice thing, because you get to know a lot of different areas in that sense.
And now you're in the third semester, so are you doing the advanced consumer marketing course now?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so it's almost done with the actual kind of formalized. Which one has been your favorite course, Annalisa? Which one have you enjoyed the most?
I would actually say the strategy course that we had recently in the third semester, because at some point you realize, or I realized for me personally, but also for my classmates, that how far or how much we've grown over this first year. And at the same time, it brings a lot of aspects together, like Pedro said, that while the second semester is a bit more, a bit specialized courses, let's call it like that. Of course, you have the finance and then HR, for instance. But I think that's one of my favorite courses. Yeah.
Pedro, which one's your favorite?
I think actually the term project in the second semester was one of my favorites, because it's like very different from the other courses in most of the cases, because like everything that you have before is very like it's theoretical, so it's not that much hand-on, it's only sometimes hand-on. And the term project is usually connected to a research project or to a company where you really need to develop something. So it's really like you start from scratch with a product or something. You just, like, for example, in the last year, we just had a technology that we're supposed to commercialize in that sense. And then you need to build like kind of like a business model in that sense around it and make it work. And the work you provide in the end gets handed over to engineers, so they create something that you also see basically. If like depending on like the project, like it varies from year to year. But I think that's something that was really, really nice, because it was really hands-on, and we learned things that we never would have thought of, because like, I don't know, we had we developed something that was for scanning the health of cows, for example. So we learned a lot about like how cows like work and how it works to have like a cattle, and what fears and like risks farmers take when they have these type of animals.
Okay, oh, that's good. So, and did the whole class do that together?
Yeah, usually, like, also, as I said, it depends. But like last year we had 2 technologies, so we had 4 groups, and each group was working on like 2 groups per technology, kind of. And then you're in groups of like 5 to 6 people. So it's like divided in smaller groups. And I think the year before it was that different groups took different roles throughout the whole thing. So it varies. It's hard to say, but it's smaller groups usually.
Okay. What about the next semester? Next semester, you're doing the big final thing before you leave us. I assume you have both decided on your topics. That's the whole semester you spend writing your master's thesis. Annalisa, what are you going to write about?
Yeah, I'm trying to connect it to the course I like best. So yeah, I'm trying to connect it to strategy, and but from a sustainable perspective. So how companies can actually become more purpose-driven firm and actually contribute to the sustainability of our world.
Okay. And what about you, Pedro?
Yeah, my thesis will be most probably like that's also something that maybe makes sense to say, that the program and the program director also really supports us when you want to write with a company together. And the topic I will have in that sense is like in the automotive industry, using kind of brand personality and or the concept of brand personality to check if it's possible to combine sustainability and luxury in kind of like a one-hat marketing approach, so to say.
Yeah, very interesting. So you're doing your thesis with the company, and Annalisa, you're doing yours as a more traditional thesis with a supervisor.
Yeah, exactly.
Am I correct? Yeah. How did you find yours? I mean, do you have to come up with your own idea for a thesis and then approach your program coordinator and say, I want to do this? Or how does it work? Do they suggest? Did you find the company yourself, Pedro?
In most of the cases, like I think you have to find the company yourself. But also throughout the program, there are opportunities to connect to companies. For example, in the course that we have now, we had like a visit from Electrolux, so a Swedish company, introducing like a problem that they have that we will like kind of tackle during one of the last assignments that we will have in the course. And they also gave us kind of the opportunity to contact them if there's an interest, and write a thesis with them. But I think also when there are opportunities, like for SMIO students, the network that the program director has, or like also the alumni network, is pretty active. So if there's someone who sees an opportunity, they usually share it, which gets also shared with everyone in the program. So in that sense, there are also like opportunities coming up from external side, kind of.
And what about you, Annalisa?
Yeah, actually, it works kind of similar with the different courses, because a lot of times the professors and also assistant teachers, if they talk about a certain topic or something they also find interesting, they also kind of suggest to the class, if you're interested about this and that, you can contact us, for example, and then it works that kind of you think about, okay, what do you want to write about, what you will find interesting, and then it's going to be elaborated further with the supervisor.
Okay. So safe to say you've enjoyed the program so far, the first 3 semesters. What about student life? Have you had a good time? Is it a good student place? Annalisa?
Yeah, I can start because actually, when I was in the other city where I did my exchange in Sweden, I already thought, oh, this is very nice student life. But when I came to Linköping, it was on a very different level because it's actually one of the best cities for student life in Sweden, as if I'm not correct, if I'm not wrong. And yeah, there's various things to do. There are a lot of different student associations where you can participate, but also just join certain events. And it's a huge campus. Where we are at is Campus Valla, so it's in Linköping, which is super nice. Lots of different places to study, but also just to hang out with your friends. And yeah.
And Pedro?
Yeah, I can just agree. It's like really amazing, the student life here, because like if you want, like throughout like 80% of the year, you can basically do like join events every day if you really like want to like participate in everything. But also there are lots of activities where you can join, where you can participate and support. So like I was part of one of the student associations for 1 year, and so like I got like in contact with like, I don't know, organizing events for up to 100 people. You can make your experience also there, which is also kind of nice, and you get in contact with a lot of people. And as also like Anna said already, you have lots of opportunities to do things.
And I gather from both of you that neither of you live in a corridor right now, but you have experienced corridor living, and I should probably mention that most students live in corridors, and so it's 8 rooms with a shared kitchen and living area, and the rooms have their own bathroom. So I think that's important to mention, and I think I think a lot of at least first year students end up living like that. But you're in flat shares or your own flats, or sorry, I didn't direct the Annalisa.
I live in student housing, but it's a studio, so I don't share my kitchen. But I had some corridor experience, and it's really nice. Also, some of my friends, they found also great friends through the corridor, and of course this depends on kind of how the mix of people is and how you get along. But I've heard some great stories that they became very good friends and cooked dinner together and things like that.
And Pedro?
I actually live in a shared flat. Like that is like a private shared flat in that sense. But like also like most of my friends live in corridors. So if I want to do something with them, I visit them there. So I also get some insights into the corridor life. And I can really report any bad things. It's like a nice way you get to know a lot of people like this. And also like obviously also depends where you live, in which corridor, but like they're also like in like through the houses, there are also kind of nice communities where everyone helps out each other. And I think it's a good way to get to know a lot of people, especially when you start studying here, and to make contacts, new friends, because it's not like that you're living together only with first year students, because like the other people most probably are in the masters or in their 3rd year of their bachelor's or whatever. So like you get to know and a lot of different people in different stages of their studies.
And it mixes from different programs, different nationalities, and so I think that's and you should have a look at our accommodation pages, because you need to join a queue. Really, you gain 1 point per day. So if you're thinking about studying here, you should sign up straight away, and you'll have a better choice. I think we should move on to questions from our participants. Just before we do, I'm going to say goodbye to those of you who are watching this recording. The Q&A section is usually reserved for those who are watching this live. The best ways to find out more about us, apart from the program page has a lot of really good information. Make sure you have the requirements, and because it's slightly different this time as we've introduced GMAT. But also have a look at international students blog so International Program Students at LIU. It's a blog written by our students, and they give you a really good insight. I think they say a lot of what Annalisa and Pedro has said about student life. Also, our Instagram account, Linkoping.University. It's again run by our students. So every week there's a new student running the account, and so you get a kind of visual feel for what it's like to be here. And finally, we have a podcast called Fika with Us, and that one again with students, and it covers everything, housing, student life, application, personal number, visa, everything really. So these are really, really good sources of information. So for those of you who are just watching the recording, don't forget you can also put your question in the question section. But apart from that, I'd like to say thank you for having watched the recording. And now, those of you who are still here, let's move on to questions. And Luke, I think you have some questions?
I do, indeed, yes. So we already received several questions. We're going through that right now. I just want to also emphasize, we open up some polling questions. We'll open up actually 2 more. So thank you for your feedback there as well in the poll section. All right, let's start off with the questions from the live audience, as those are the ones we can answer right now. Randy, you had a question and asked, is it possible to apply for this program without a GMAT or with a GRE instead?
This is no. At the moment, the entry requirements are GMAT results. So you can actually, no was wrong. The first selection group, you have to have a GMAT result. So you basically there going to be 2 selection groups. So one of them you will have the GMAT result, and the second one will be the English language skills. So the first one you will have you'll have a score of 350 or above, I believe, and in the other one you will have English level 7. This is the first time that we're using this new system to select the groups. So I don't have any details. Our admissions unit should be able to answer that. So if you want to forward a question to us, that I can take with me to the admissions unit. But you can apply without the GMAT result. You will then be placed in selection group 2, and selection group 1 will be prioritized for a seat on the program.
Okay, I hope that clarified it for you, Randy. Otherwise, let us know. Evergreen had a question. Is there any age limitation for this program?
No, none of our programs have an age limitation. You just have to meet the requirements. And if you do, then any age. And as you said, Annalise, I think you said some students have been working for 6, 7, 8 years. So that's also, I think the experience of having worked and having that mix in the classroom adds a lot of value to the program.
Yeah, definitely.
Great to hear, Annalisa. Thank you for confirming that as well. Ilya is asking, what are the main internship opportunities for the program?
Have you had any internships, Pedro or Annalisa?
Like in the program itself, in the slide that you showed us, there is no internship included, but there is an opportunity that just opened up short while ago, that there are opportunities for the 3rd semester, if I'm not wrong, to do an internship. But this is something that varies also from year to year, as I heard. So they introduce it, I think the next time for the next year again. And then there are some opportunities that you could take, but also in general, the program director is very open for individual situations. So there's always a solution, and you can always talk to them. So there's always a way to like adjust some things so you can do things as you wish.
So this internship would then be part of the term project, for example, or?
No, it's really in the like instead of the courses in the third semester. But as I said, that's just what I heard in that sense. But like it's not confirmed in that sense.
But something I know that some of our classmates did was, and that's also something that is quite popular in Sweden, is doing a summer internship. So I don't know when exactly it starts, but that you use kind of your summer break between the second and the third semester to gain some practical knowledge.
Mm-hmm. And I think it's important to mention that the students find this themselves. And again, and I should mention that when you do your master's thesis, I think if you do what you do, Pedro, and you do it with a company, in some ways it is a bit like an internship, as you do it in a company setting, don't you?
Yeah, right. That's true.
So if you kind of have your sights set on a certain company, approach them, because doing a thesis with a company, I believe, would open doors for the future. I hope that answers the question. You're muted, Luke.
I am indeed. Now I'm back. Yes, so otherwise let us know. I was saying to Ilya, Elizabeth has a question. How do you know if your country qualification exempts from the English test requirements?
You go to universityadmissions.se and you have a look at country-specific information on that site. So for example, for Germany, if you're going to look up Germany, you'll see what level of English you've had to have done at your, kind of high school equivalent. And if you have done, I think, English at gymnasium or equivalent, then you would be exempt. So you everything that you need to know is on universityadmissions.se. And obviously, if you've done your bachelor in the UK or the US or Australia, you'd be exempt. If your bachelor has been taught in English in another country, and the transcript clearly states this, then you would also be exempt. But have a look at the country-specific information. It also tells you a lot about what you need to submit and how, for example, for the US, your university has to submit your transcript directly in a sealed envelope. You can't do that. So there's lots of little details like that. So have a look.
Yep, and you can have a look via the link that was shared just now on the screen. So just before, you can click on that and you can find that information as indicated. Next question from Farah. Farah is asking, how much does the program cost?
It cost 190,000 kronos for 2 years. This is about, where are we? So it's 95,000. So say, is it about 9,000 euros per year? Would you say that's correct, Annalisa and Pedro? You have no idea because you're Europeans. So don't know why I'm asking you. This is only non-Europeans have to pay tuition fee. So if you're an EU citizen, it will be free, just like it is for Swedish students. But if you're a non-EU citizen, yes, you have to pay fees, and it's 190,000, and I think that is roughly 18,000 both in dollars and in euros for the 2 years.
Yeah, that's my quick calculation. Just check that. It's just below that for what you were mentioning.
Just below that.
Correct.
Good.
Ramesh has a question. Are there work-study opportunities easy to find?
So part-time work?
I guess so.
Yeah. We don't recommend that students work whilst they're studying. I'm going to ask my students to elaborate a bit on this, but I think the program is a full-time program, so it is 40 hours, and even though you might not have that many scheduled hours, you're expected to read and write a lot, and as we've heard, to actively participate. Part-time work, it can be difficult to find if you don't speak Swedish. You're also in competition with the other 30,000 Swedish students who speak Swedish. But what's been your experience, Pedro and Annalisa? Do you do any part-time work?
Like no, like at least I don't. And it's also like as you said, the program is very intense. So like it's like from myself, I think it's very hard to squeeze in and do it without like decreasing the grades in that sense. So I also wouldn't recommend working. And as you also say, like I think most of the people, the internationals in our program, also don't have a part-time job. Like first of all, because of the lack of time, and also because it's, I think, pretty difficult if you don't speak Swedish to get a job in that sense.
Is that your picture of it as well, Annalisa?
Yeah, I agree. I don't have anything to add.
No. Short and sweet. Perfect. Thank you. Luke.
Yes, indeed. Thank you. Next question we have is from Rames. No, sorry, from Ayumide. What is the least CGPA requirements? So I guess the grading.
The admissions for admission.
Yeah, the requirement to apply, I would assume, yes.
Yeah, I don't know about CGPA. We have the GMAT is a new requirement, and the GMAT is you should have 350 or over to be able to end up in selection group 1. Apart from that, we don't. You have to meet the requirement, which is a degree, 3-year degree, if the bachelor's degree is 3 years, and you need at least 60 credits, which is 2 semesters full-time of business administration related courses. And that's kind of, if you have a look on our homepage, accounting, marketing, organization theory, strategy, finance, HRM. And I heard you said, Annalisa, you did tourism and management, so I assume the management part of your course was at least 60 credits.
Yeah, that's right. I think I was probably right above this this threshold. Yeah.
And what was your background, Pedro?
I did a bachelor's in business administration, so for me, I had a lot of credits in it. So.
Yeah. So wait. So the CGPA, I don't know about. But have a look on the program page.
Yep, and that program page is also in the chat. By the way, you can find it back. I posted the link there as well. The overview. You can find the requirements right there. All right, next question, Pianta. So regarding the GMAT, are you conducting a test, or how can you elaborate a bit on the GMAT?
On the GMAT, let's see. I'll have to have a look. I'll actually have to have a look at what it says on the program page. Your GMAT official score report, not older than 5 years, should be made available to Linköping University by GMAC, so Graduate Management Admission Council, by the 1st of February at the latest. So I believe you would send it through directly. I'm afraid all I know is what it says on the program page, and I don't think Annalisa or Pedro will know either, as the GMAT wasn't in place when they started.
Yeah, that's true. But I think the question is maybe if Leo itself is conducting this test, but it's from another institution.
Yeah, I think you have to send it directly from the institution, as per the specific requirements on the page. I hope that, I know that it's not an ideal answer, but I hope it helps.
Okay, thank you. Kenneth is asking or mentioning he has a degree in accounting under management faculty. Is that enough, and can he be admitted for the program strategy and management in international organizations?
It sounds like it could. It's not something that we can guarantee or confirm here during this webinar. But if you have 60 credits of management related courses, and accounting was listed as one of them, you should be eligible. So have a look at what your, make sure you attach your syllabus, because if you have done a program that doesn't necessarily have the word management or similar in it, you need to be able to show the courses you've done instead. So attach your syllabus when you do apply, and hopefully you will have achieved enough ECTS credits to meet the requirements.
Okay, great, thank you. And before we go to the next question, I just want to emphasize we did open a couple of pollings. Thanks to the ones that have already answered them. That is very useful for us. If you haven't, yeah, please do so if you can, before you also have to leave the session. And by the way, all of the people that watch the recording, you can all participate in all of this. So you can participate in the polling. You can still write questions in the question tab as well, and we can send them through to the staff of Linköping University. All right, next question. Collins asks, please, does the school offer any financial assistance to international students?
We do offer scholarships. They're limited. It's usually maximum 2 per program. These are tuition fee waivers. So usually around 50% of the tuition fees is given as a scholarship. And so this is for students who are not fee-paying students, so for non-European students. And the requirements is that you have to have been admitted to a program. You have to have ranked it as your number 1 at university admissions in the application process. You can choose up to 4 programs at 4 different universities in Sweden. But if you want to apply for a scholarship to this specific one, it needs to be ranked as your number 1. There's also a Swedish institute scholarship. I think it's called SI Global Professionals or something like that. It's only open to certain countries, but definitely have a look at it, because it's a kind of, it covers everything, so tuition and cost of living. But we don't have anything for Europeans to apply for that would cover cost of living as well.
Okay. Thank you. I hope that also answered the question from Faustin, who was asking the same. Question from Orlando is asking, is this an MBA or a master?
Master. So it's important. It's important to note that it's a Master of Science in Business Administration with a focus on strategy and management in international organizations. So we always call it SMIO, but it's a master's.
Okay, so that is important indeed to clarify. Thank you for that. And I think those were the questions we have received so far. Let me check. There was one actually in the chat. Yes, so Liani asked, according to the entry requirements, there seem to be no required document for showing the work experience. How can we show if that is my merit?
I'm afraid we don't use that in our assessment work experience. So no CV, no letters of recommendation, no letters of motivation, none of that is necessary. We only look at your academic merit and then the GMAC result. So unfortunately, work experience, it's not used in the selection process.
Okay. Thank you. Just checking through the chat if there was any other question that was still asked. Subhash was asking to be contacted, so I assume if you joined this, you have your you have left your details, so I guess they can get in touch. Is there any other contact where the students can go besides the different channels you mentioned?
Page, there's also a collection that leads you through to my colleague really. So it's a form you fill in, but you put your question in it and you get an answer really quickly. And my colleague manages that function, and you'll get an answer within a day or 2. So that's the quickest and easiest way. And then we can also keep track of the fact that you have been in touch with us and forward if necessary. So use one of the forms I use the form on the program page.
Okay. Okay, thank you. I indeed checked the site, so that's where it is available. The link. So again, the link to the program overview you find in the chat. I shared it earlier on in the screen as well. Just want to mention as well, we do have a student community where we'll paste some links as well. So the link to that student community is in the chat. There you can join in. There's a special channel actually for Linköping University. So if you can join that, you can find other webinars as well, but also some links to useful information in the program page. And chat with other students. That is what it's for, actually. All right. I think those were the questions we received. Kenneth was asking about this degree, but I think we answered that about the accounting degree under management. So that should have been answered, Kenneth. Otherwise, let us know. And unless there's still last question coming in, we slowly round off the session.
Yeah, and Pedro and Annalisa, do you still have the buddies, the Big Sisters, Big Brothers program?
Yes.
We do.
Yeah, tell us a bit about that.
So yeah, I can go. So it's basically a program where the second year students are welcoming, let's put it like this, the first year students, showing them a bit around, also serving as kind of a little bit of mentors, and solving questions that arise, especially in the beginning, because it is starting so intensely right away, and you're probably living in a whole new country you've never seen before in most cases. But this is something that's also planned for the next year, as far as I know.
Okay. So Pedro, you're one of these big buddies now.
Yeah, actually both of us are BPS. That's it, yeah.
Yeah, and how's it been? How's the buddy program been?
Talking from both perspectives, it's a very nice thing because, as Anna said, you get some help in the beginning to sort out some things. So we get, for example, shown where to do some administrative stuff, or where some things can be acquired in that sense, such as, I don't know, books, the Leo card, etc. So it's a very helpful thing, and it also helps in the beginning to break the ice and get the students connected and make them kind of become friends. And also for during the admission or when the admission is done, we also took care in that sense by the student to help them with questions regarding admission, regarding housing, and other questions that are then related to the start of studying in that sense.
I think it's a really, really good opportunity. Can you, before we wrap up, one piece of advice, is there one thing you would like to say to, that you wish you had known before, when you were at this stage, when you're thinking of applying or, doing the whole process? Do you have do you have a piece of advice, Annalisa?
I would say just trust the process, and also don't be afraid of maybe not being super successful in the beginning, because it is a different style of studying, and also in some cases a different style of approaching the content, for example. And I mean, of course, it is kind of a process that you get used to, reading academic papers, for instance, and all of these things. So that's something. Maybe don't be afraid if the first weeks are very stressful. It will be a reward in the end.
It will fall into place. What about you, Pedro? Do you have any advice?
I think my advice would be to like really go in it, or like start with an open mind, and with also like the knowledge that cultures are different, and ask yourself what how to and like make a bit research why things are like they are, because like this you will get to know the other people much faster, understand them much better, and also you will be it's then much more rewarding in that sense.
Thank you. It's been really good listening to your perspectives, and I'm glad you both seem to enjoy the program so much. Those of you watching, have a look at the program page. A lot of your questions, you'll find the answer there. Go into specific requirements. It'll say what you need. So for example, the question about accounting, if you have done 60 ECTS credits, which is about 1 year of studying, that should probably be all right. You can also see if you can apply. You can apply without a GMAT, but you would then be put in group 2 rather than group 1, and group 1 will be given seats in the first instance. So all these questions that you have, you can actually find on the program page. And then you can find a lot more information, kind of more, not as specific, program specific, but a lot more about, your country specific language requirement, or, what you need to submit from your country at universityadmissions.se. And then, as I said before, Instagram, blog, podcast. Have a look, because you can ask students lots of questions there, and they'll be able to give you lots of tips. And the other good thing is that in the summer we do have speed dating on the Instagram, so you can meet people. I know the buddies usually do get in touch, but you can meet students on other programs. So be sure to follow our Instagram account, Linköping.university. That was it for today. I'd like to say big thank you, Annalisa and Pedro. It's been really, really good talking to you, and everybody else, thank you for having joined us. Thank you. Bye.
Bye bye.